everyone, welcome to Tasty Tuesday. Today I'm going to be making my grain-free coconut muffins. They're absolutely delicious. Everyone who tries them just loves them so much, and they're a really, really good treat if you want to keep it healthy. So what you're going to need for that is 3 organic eggs, 3 tablespoons of coconut milk. You can also use amasi, or if you want, you can use regular milk. Just make sure it's organic. 2 tablespoons of butter, a half a cup of fruit. I always use blueberries, and typically I'll use frozen, but you can use fresh or frozen. 1/4 of a cup of coconut flour, and this is organic, of course. 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of organic vanilla extract, 3 tablespoons of raw organic honey, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and then I have some baking cups and my baking tin. And so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to preheat your oven to about 400 degrees, just to get that nice and hot. And I'm going to go ahead and mix up my wet ingredients. So what you're going to do is just start mixing it all up. I'm going to break my eggs. And again, it's important to use organic eggs, just so you don't get all that stuff that you don't want. If you can't afford organic eggs, regular is okay, but just if you can get organic, if you have a choice, always pick organic. Alright, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of coconut milk. And like I said before, you can use amasi or you can use organic whole milk. Whatever you want to use is fine. And the coconut milk really gives it a nice flavor, and it brings out just the flavor from the flour, and it makes it all really good. So I like coconut milk. This is 2 tablespoons of butter. I really don't typically use, typically measure my vanilla, but I just put in about a teaspoon, whatever looks good. But it'll be about a teaspoon. And then with the wet ingredients, I go ahead and mix in the salt as well. And again, you're going to want 1/4 of a teaspoon, or sometimes I do a little bit more than 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then honey. This is again raw organic honey. That you're definitely going to want to use raw organic because it's just better for you. If you don't have that on hand, you can use regular honey, but this is better and it tastes better. Alright, and I don't measure that exactly. It's really hard to measure it exactly because it all sticks to the thing, but just measure it as best you can. You don't have to be precise at all. Alright? And once you have all those ingredients in there, you'll just give it a light stir, kind of break your eggs up. Don't over mix it, you just want to break your eggs up pretty much and get those ingredients mixed together, because you still have to mix your other ingredients in. So once you have that stirred up, you're going to sift your flour, your coconut flour. Again, that's only 1/4 of a cup. So when you're baking with coconut flour, you really don't use much at all. And this is 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. Alright, and I'm just going to sift it. It's important to sift it because it gets all the clumps out, and it gives it a nice texture once it's baked if you sift it. So it's just really smooth. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my wet ingredients. And I'm just going to add that into my w And you'll be surprised at how little flour is actually in this recipe. It's because the coconut flour just really absorbs all that moisture and you don't need much at all. It really bulks up. As you put it in, you'll think you'll need more, and then once you stir it all together, it thickens and just becomes more of a thick texture than you would have expected. 1/4 cup of flour for sure. And just try to mix in those clumps. You don't have to mix them all up, like you don't have to make sure there's no clumps whatsoever, but just make sure that you get them mixed up enough to where it's mixed together. Alright, and once you have that, you can add in your fruit, and that's 1/2 cup of frozen blueberries. Alright, and just mix those in lightly. The more you mix, if you use frozen, your batter will become purple, which is pretty. And then I've got my muffin tin here. And I'm just going to line it with this is a non-stick baking tin, which is not my favorite. I usually use my stainless steel, but I don't know why I picked this one. I don't like it that much, but it's okay. I'm going to line it anyway. And this recipe usually makes about 9 muffins. You can probably most people I think get less because they use more. I typically make my muffins a little smaller than most people do, but just a spoonful is what I use in each one. But they do rise, but not a whole lot. So if you put more in each one, of course you're going to get less muffins. And feel free to double the recipe if you want to make more. I think I'm going to get more out of this today. You know, I found that for some reason this recipe really varies. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Not sure why. It might be me, but who knows. So I'm just going to put this in here. I've got a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and do like 10. This one might be a little bit smaller. There's only one berry in it. But I'm just going to pour that in. And as you can see, these are super quick to make, and you'll only put them in the oven for about 15 to 18 minutes. You'll be able to tell when they're done. They just get golden on the top, and they're pretty easy to spot when they're done. But if you want to, you can just, after about 18 minutes, stick a toothpick in, and if it comes out clean, of course they're done. So I'm just going to pop these in, and I'll show you what they look like in a minute.